Super Mario Bros. Now we've approached the big guns. The title said so. Making its debut in 1985, this game was probably one of the biggest reasons as to why the gaming industry was never brutally killed. Alongside Miyamoto, newcomer Takashi Tezuka decided to jump in and help with conducting the train. It's worth noting that Miyamoto has credited Tezuka for being a pretty big driving force for lots of Mario games, sometimes being at a higher stake than him. This isn't a one-man show. So, let's join in a moment of silence to commemorate their efforts. Alright, now that the cookie cutter Nintendo YouTubers have left, let's continue. Everything that can be said has already been said. My words will mean nothing, no matter how I phrase them. So, let's not waste any more time and get into it. If you read the manual, you'll know that the story is pretty simple. Storming a once peaceful Mushroom Kingdom, one known as Bowser and his troops wreak havoc and use magic to turn the inhabitants into rocks and bricks. The only one who can reverse this is Princess Toadstool, the ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom. Knowing this, Bowser captures her along with any other survivors. Supposedly sucked down a drain, Mario and Luigi arrive, are informed about the chaos, and embark on an adventure. Does the job, honestly. I would join the crowd and say that this was an era where story didn't matter in a video game, but this is also the era where someone would genuinely buy a TurboGrafx 16 because of graphics. So, yeah, never mind. Let's actually play the game now. Huh. The opening demo is kind of weird. Did they drop their controller? Okay, so they made a demo that depends on the sub-pixels being nice, allowing Mario to pass through this block. Probably could have been remade. Well, that wasn't really a good first impression. Let's just hope that something turns in his favor. Okay, immediately starting with the most influential gaming soundtrack, I see you. That's Koji Kondo, and he's been going strong ever since, composing entire soundtracks for multiple Mario's adventures. Control-wise, we can finally control our jumps and momentum mid-air. Even though it's not particularly realistic, it's much appreciated. Makes me wish that Mario moved a little faster, though. Oh, jeez. What happened? My wish came true for a second. You can hold down B to run. Excellent. That's a pet peeve of mine, to be completely honest. Why do I have to hold down a button forever to unlock my full potential? My fingers end up getting indents of the button that I'm holding down, especially on Switch. It hurts. A lot. I'd like to see a ROM hack that adds in the ability to run without holding the button, because it's not like anyone else is going to avoid running fast if they know they have the option. Anyways, gameplay-wise, we have a lot to do. There's your usual platforming ordeal, but sometimes you can go swimming too. Objectively a pace breaker, but I don't think it's worth going out of my way to actively hate on these levels. Settings can range from open fields to underground chasms, fortresses, huge mushroom forests, and islands. According to this guidebook, don't shoot the messenger. Blocks with question marks are littered everywhere, which you can jump into to reveal surprises. Most of the time you'll get coins, which are much more plentiful nowadays. You can also find them floating in the sky. Collect 100 of these and you earn an extra life. Occasionally you'll find power-ups, which thankfully don't require a diploma to find. There are mushrooms, which let you grow in size and gain an extra hit point. You can also duck by pressing down. Flowers, which let you nuke any enemies with fast fireballs. You can only throw 2 at a time though. And stars, usually more hidden than the formers, and let you become invincible for about 10 seconds. Nice tune too. You can also find green mushrooms, which aren't any less hidden than a star, and instantly reward you with a life. And then there are these magical beanstalks, which take you up to heaven. And heaven is clearly loaded with riches. You can also find the same coinage by finding secret areas through pipes. I guess you could call this hell if you assume that these are the riches of billionaires. But what good are these if not for the foes you face? There are walking mushrooms that you can easily stomp on to dispose of. The turtles from Mario Bros. Return? Sweet, we have lore now. You can retract them into their shells and kick them into other enemies, which never fails to be satisfying. Some of them even have wings, which lets them either jump high or fly. There are beetles, who act like turtles but are immune to fire. Venus flytraps, who stick their heads out of pipes. Fish, who either leisurely swim or try to snipe you viciously, depending on the setting. Squids that have really awkward moving patterns. Make sure to kill these guys with fireballs. Underwater, there are these turtles who ride on clouds and throw down spiky pets, which you can't stop on. Giant bullets, which remind you on how Japan knows nothing about guns. Sorry. Bubbles of lava that come jumping out to kill you, much like the fish. And last but not least, there are these guys that constantly chuck hammers at you. They can get pretty annoying if you're impatient. Psych! Bowser is the real last but not least. He spews fire like a dragon and jumps every so often. Later in the game, he also vomits hammers like a menace. At the end of each stage, you take down a flag that was placed by the enemies to conquer land. Yes, that's why the flag itself has a skull on it. Depending on how high you grab onto it, you earn more or less points. And what's left of your remaining time limit transfers into points. Most things you can do are accompanied by points, and you know, that'd be cool if it meant anything. Literally, it's just there to copy what arcade games do, but not even in the right way. You don't earn any extra lives or whatever by earning enough points. But, you know what? Even though they serve absolutely no purpose, once they stopped displaying a score, something was lost. I guess it's just a human thing to like seeing a number go up. At the end of each world, which are 8, you come across a massive castle which houses spinning fire sticks and can sometimes act like a maze, teleporting you back to the beginning if you take the wrong path. What's the logistics behind that?
Your Majesty, shouldn't we use this for a better cause, like trapping Mario in a prison, or...
Be quiet, Nimrod! I'm busy polishing. This is me time.
You'll always come across Bowser in a castle. You can either destroy him with fireballs, which reveals 7 out of 8 times that you weren't even fighting him to begin with, or by using this axe to destroy the bridge you're stationed on. You'll usually come across a mushroom person who tells you that the princess isn't there. But at least they thank you for rescuing them. And at the end of your journey, after all of your trials and tribulations, you'll finally rescue Princess Toadstool, who can at last reverse the curse. To test your skills, she offers you another quest, which is actually the same adventure again, except with faster enemies, and all of the mushroom enemies are replaced with beetles. You'd be surprised at how often they appeared. So, that's the overall gist of the game. I don't have to tell you that I think this game is great, but I do have some issues. For one, not every level is unique. Some levels are basically rehashes of earlier levels, but with some new gimmick, like more enemies, for example. Half of World 7 is just World 2 levels with this treatment. And it's funny, because it contains one of the 2 times that a water level appears, not including the bonus level that I forgot existed. And if you can connect the dots there, you'll know why that sucks. Secondly, most enemies have some pretty wacky hitboxes. Look at this one. And this one. And is this a joke? Third, this isn't at the fault of anyone, but it's more so an unfortunate setback. The NES only had 4 voices, and whenever a sound effect plays, it takes up that voice. Sadly, the more complex music is affected by this, and often it gets interrupted by the sound effects. This is mostly noticeable in underwater levels. It hits my ear wrong. All my other gripes, though, can just be categorized by skill issue, like how Mario's momentum is programmed, yada yada. It's a massive shame that these kinds of hiccups exist in otherwise a really awesome experience. Regarding levels, it might have been because of hardware limitations, but the hitbox dilemma is kind of just inexcusable. Now, let me be clear. Don't take my nitpicking at face value. Any way you look at it, this game is great. It's very easy to digest whilst providing a challenge. Here comes that hidden difficulty I've talked about before. The assets are easily distinguishable from each other, which is important, and the sound design is cartoony but conveys action as well, which is important. It's insane that there are people who still say that this game hasn't aged well. Dog, if you really think that, try the PC port. A year later, releasing on the PC 8801 and Sharp X1, responsibility was given to Hudson Soft to port Super Mario Bros. To these families of computers. It was titled Super Mario Bros. Special. Yeah, special doesn't even begin to describe the sick joke. Simply put, this port is impressive for what it's running on, but oh my god. Hardware-based scrolling wasn't a thing, so you play the levels in segments like Mega Man. The color palette was made with nothing but Sharpie highlighters. And I don't even want to try playing this. I'm sure it's not as bad as I'm chalking it up to be, but I'm trying to make a point. Sure, compared to other games in the franchise, it might not be glamorous, but you cannot look me in the eyes and tell me that this game has aged poorly. You'd have to be insane to say that. And that's it for Super Mario Bros. A fantastic leap in the right direction, and still fun to play to this day. It's understandable that this gameplay has stood the test of time for almost 40 years. Jeez, happy early birthday, Mario. But, how will Mario's next adventure compare? I suppose we should check that out. See ya.